everybody. Welcome to Life Stories Podcast, People Helping People. I'm Shara Goswick, your host, and I'm so glad that you're here. Today on the podcast, I speak with Bee Davis. Bee has a blog called Life, Love, and Travel. She has the coolest job. She travels to beautiful tropical destinations and learns all about the local culture and the great places to go and the places to avoid. And then she reports back to you. If you go to her website, you can see her gorgeous pictures and all these wonderful places she's been able to visit. Our word of the week this week
It's the word of the week.
is prepared. Not only did Bee talk about these beautiful destinations and the things that she loves to do while she's there, she also gave some great advice on being prepared when you're traveling. You know, everybody likes to be prepared. We're not always as prepared as we need to be. But sometimes, like Bee explains, we need to think about things that could possibly go wrong or things that maybe we hadn't thought about before. We want to be prepared for every situation. I hope you will enjoy this conversation and then go check out her blog. Look at her website and see the pictures that she's taken and the places that she's gone. I think what she's doing is really neat, and I love that she has shared it with us today. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for listening.
Here I am. Can you hear me okay?
I can. How are
Perfect.
you?
I am hanging in there, man.
Are you? Did you finally catch your breath? You've had
It's
quite a journey.
my goodness. It's been ongoing for about 6 months now, but
Oh my
you know, we were fixing up the house and we finally got that all fixed up, and then we found a house in Georgia and it was basically like another money pit, and we were like,
Oh no.
yeah, so we hurried up and we found a new build condo and we just hopped right in.
Yeah.
But then it was like a whole month before we got our stuff, and
Oh gosh.
oh man, it's been a
Moving
mess.
is fun.
Yeah, fun. That's a
So
good way of
fun.
putting it.
Yeah, I hope I never have to do it again. That is my hope.
Me too,
So-
for sure.
Well, I've been looking forward to this. I'm so excited to talk to you. I know you probably haven't been traveling for fun lately.
I haven't, no,
You have-
unfortunately, but
Yeah. You've been traveling, just not for fun. But I
Yeah.
love what you've been doing, because to me, this is like the coolest job.
Oh,
To be able to go to these cool places and, report back to others and tell them what you found. So technically, you're not really a travel agent. You don't book things for people. You just go
Well,
check them out.
yeah, not really. So I did sort of add travel planning services
Okay.
just a couple months ago.
Oh,
And it's
okay.
not really like a detailed like travel agent, so to speak.
Right.
I'm
right.
doing more of like a concierge type stuff. So
Yeah.
you know, I'm doing all of like the research and all of the stuff that you would normally do when you're sitting on the beach when you're like, oh, where do I want to go to dinner tonight? You know, I have all
Yeah.
that stuff kind of lined out, and you have like a full a bunch of choices and all that kind of thing. So it's not really travel agent planning, but
Right.
it's more of like the nitty gritty stuff. So yeah.
But because the places that you've talked about, you've been there, like you
Right.
go and check them. That's what's so awesome. What a job
Yeah.
to be able to go and hang out and do all these fun things. So for people, so your program is called Life, Love, and Travel.
Uh-huh.
What, for people that don't know, name some of the places that you've been that you talk about in
Yeah.
your.
No problem. So I normally do a lot of Caribbean type travel.
Mhm.
It's one of my goals to eventually one day make it to all the Caribbean islands. I don't know if that's
That's
ever going to
awesome.
happen, but
Yeah.
it's definitely a goal. So I've kind of just picked places, you know, based on the best deal that I can find, and then I just go. And then the funnest part about all of it is that I'm able to kind of do some research, and I really do a lot of like cultural immersion, those type of vacations. So
Yeah.
I'm like picking, you know, places where I can get cooking lessons or salsa dancing or, you know, stuff like that. Or if I could do homestays with people there, the locals, that's kind
Oh,
of what I'm
wow.
looking for. So yeah, so I
Yeah.
do a lot of like the in-depth type experiences instead of just like your normal, you know, all inclusive
Right.
or something like that. So not that there's anything wrong with all inclusive, because I definitely love that every now and then,
Yeah.
but I'm doing a lot more of like volunteercations and that sort of thing as well. So yeah.
Wow. So have you done any homestays? Have you gone and done that and stayed with people?
I
You have?
have, yeah. I actually just got an offer for Vietnam. I'm kind of
Wow.
working on that one. I don't know if it's going to happen or not.
Yeah.
We are still kind of in the midst of, talking and that sort of thing. But that will include 4 nights of homestays, and real in-depth cultural immersion. So I'm pretty excited about that one.
That's very cool. That's very
Yeah.
cool. So, one of the things that I love that you do is you go and talk to locals and have like a little podcast. Tell, what do you learn? Like, what kind of questions do you ask them? And what do you learn when you're talking to those? Because that's so smart. That's so smart.
So I am actually, I ask dumb American questions. I know that I don't really know how else to describe it.
Right.
I'm asking those questions that, okay, say you were at a foreign place and you're on your way to your hotel room from your airport, and, you're asking your driver like, oh, where do I go to eat? Or,
Right.
what should I stay away from? Or where should I not go? Those kind of things. So I'm
Yeah.
asking a lot of that stuff. Where should I go on a Friday night? What kind of foods do you eat? It was actually funny. One of my podcast episodes, I asked, we were talking about Ireland, and I totally asked about kilts.
Yeah.
Found
Hey,
out
that's
they're
something we don't know.
yeah, right. And he's like, I love your naivety. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But, these are questions that like we're curious about. I
Right.
found out that, for instance, and it's still I kind of hate talking about it, but in Mongolia, they eat a lot of horse meat. It's
Oh,
not really
yeah.
something that I'm like, but at the
Yeah.
same time, us as Americans, we have to be able to open our minds up because, that's other cultures. And that's the
Right.
only way that we're going to be able to learn is if we ask those questions. So I
Yeah.
try to find a lot of people who are more local to the area, maybe have grown up there, something along those lines. And then I just kind of pick their brains and ask them,
Yeah.
questions that I think that we would want to know.
That's such a great idea. So why did you start this? Were you traveling and decided, you could share your information, or is this something you've always wanted to do?
Well, it's funny because I don't even know. Back in 2016, I was like, I think it'd be fun to have a blog. And then I was like, maybe one day I'll do something with it, and just kind
Yeah.
of threw it to the side, didn't think about it or whatever. And then about 3 years ago or so, my son was like, Mom, you've been to these really cool places and I want to show my friends, and I need to get on your Facebook. And I'm like, really want you to be on my personal
Right.
Facebook. So I was like, how about if I create a page and then I'll just post some stuff there and here and there, and you guys can, check it out. And he's like, okay. And then it took off. We just
That's
completely
awesome.
blossomed into this whole thing. And we've started out now. We've got a boutique, a podcast just recently launched in May of last year. We're working on season 2, which I'm excited about. And yeah, so
Awesome.
we're just kind of getting the name out and stuff.
That's so cool. So what's your favorite place that you've been to so far?
Um, okay, so this one might actually shock you because I've been to the French Polynesia,
Oh.
but I think St. Martin is probably my all-time favorite island.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
What did you
it's a
love
lot of
about being
fun.
there?
The food was amazing.
Yeah.
It's 2 separate islands on one. So you've got French and Dutch foods. And then on top of that, like the beaches were incredibly blue. I had no idea.
Oh wow.
They're almost as blue as French Poly. So
Oh wow.
yeah, it
So
was really
I
amazing.
for somebody who is not like I travel, but I travel by vehicle. Like I'm not a big fan of flying. And I know some of these places you probably have to get on little planes, don't you? To get to
Yep.
yeah. So you
Definitely. So there is one island that we went to in Belize. And it was one of those where you had to take a hopper plane
yeah.
to get there. And I'm not gonna lie, I was very nervous because I had not been in that small of a plane before. But once we got up there, I mean, it was amazing because we were still really low, so you can see, inside the ocean and
Yeah.
all of the little ships and all of that stuff. But you were still kind of far enough up to where it felt like you were kind of flying. I don't know. It was
Yeah.
it was a great experience. I definitely recommend it for anybody.
Yeah. I mean, most people are not, they're fine about traveling. It just freaks me out a little bit.
No, I
So
get it.
what about when you're going to these places and looking, what are you looking for to share with people? The local restaurants, the things that you love, like are there specific things that you're looking for to talk to people
Um,
about?
Not really. I just kind of do as much of a deep dive as I can. All of my vacations usually center around some sort of a volunteer activity. I try to do like a day or two, like at the dog shelters, or I volunteered in a couple of schools before and like read books to kids, all that kind of fun stuff. So usually I find a place where this kind of calls to me, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is a great place. This place has, a bunch of dog animal or shelter animals or
Right.
whatever. And, they really need volunteers or something like that. So I kind of go along that way. And then it also depends upon the best deal too. So,
Right.
but when I'm there, I'm looking for as much immersion as I can get. So
Yeah.
just really
I,
trying to talk to all the locals, find out where the best places to live are and all that kind of thing.
I love that you go volunteer in places. That's so smart. Like I've never even thought about that.
Yeah, it's a
That's such
lot
a
of
great
fun.
idea. Yeah. So are all the places that you go to, are they all beaches? Is it all
Um,
tropical?
I really have this thing about cold weather. I've lived in St. Louis for
Yeah.
most of my life, and I just don't do well with when
Yeah.
anything below like 50 degrees, and I don't really. I start to,
Right.
like bundle up, and then I'm just not good with it. So I usually tend to pick more of like tropical beaches and that sort of thing,
Yeah.
just because I really love the beach and the
Yeah.
sun and that sort of thing. But I'm not against visiting colder regions, I guess, so to
Right.
speak. Yeah.
Have you gone anywhere in the US or is it all like
Um,
islands and the coast and
I've been to a few places in the US.
yeah.
My very first trip was to California, actually,
Oh
which,
yeah.
oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for all those people right
No.
now who are
It's
suffering. It's absolutely
awful.
horrible.
It is awful.
But when I had went, I was 8 years old. It
Mm.
was a solo trip. My mom was like, "Here, get on a plane, go see your grandma." And
Oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh.
"Okay." I mean, that was 40 years ago,
Right.
so or
Right.
30 years ago, so it was a
Yeah.
long time ago. But
Yeah.
yeah, she was. I hopped in the plane. I got all the way over to California. We went to go look at beaches for the first time, and Santa Monica was my very first beach, and I was just like, this is not necessarily something that, an 8-year-old child should be seeing. And it totally stressed me out. And I was
Oh wow.
traumatized by it and was like, I don't ever want to see another beach again. And then we went to Punta Cana for my honeymoon, and it was kind of, I just fell in love with it from
Oh
there. So
wow.
I saw an actual real beach, I guess I could say.
Right. Well, I live in Texas and I always say, I love Texas. I don't want to live anywhere else, but our beaches are not good. They're just
I hear
gross.
that. I have
They
not been to a
just really
Texas
are.
beach yet.
Now, I grew up going to the beach. My grandparents had a beach cabin. And so we spent most of
Okay.
my summers in my childhood there. And I didn't care. As a kid, you don't care that the
Right.
water is disgusting. As an adult, I don't go to any Texas beaches. If we're going to the beach, we go to Orange Beach or Gulf Shores or Destin or, we don't do Texas beaches.
Yeah.
They're just gross.
I
But
totally get that. I heard
yeah,
it's because I guess the waters are coming in and then they're pulling the dirt out, and that's what
yeah.
makes it look so dirty.
It's just
I
gross.
don't
I mean,
know.
you can't
Yeah.
see. And as like I said, as a kid, I didn't care. I didn't care that I couldn't see
Right.
my feet or what was under there. It didn't bother me. Now
Right.
I just don't like it. I like to see
Yeah.
what's in there. So where
Yeah.
are you going next, or do you have any plans to go? Oh, you said Vietnam. Do you
Yeah.
have any
Well,
place? Maybe,
yeah.
maybe Vietnam.
We're not sure about that. I'm still
Okay.
working on that. Hopefully, if
Okay.
it happens, it'll be towards the end of the year. But
Okay.
my husband and I are actually planning a trip to North Eleuthera, which is in
Oh,
the Bahamas. So I'm pretty
okay.
excited about that.
That's
Hopefully, within the
awesome.
next month or so.
So when you travel, do you bring your family with you? Is it everybody goes and
Sometimes.
sometimes? Yeah.
I usually leave the kids at home. I have two
Yeah.
adult sons. One's actually in Alaska in the Army, and the
Oh,
other one
wow.
is living in St. Louis. And he's, going to college and doing all that fun
Yeah.
stuff. So um, they're kind of past traveling with mom. It's not really as
Yeah.
much fun.
Yeah.
But I do like to take my husband because he's a great cameraman.
Yeah. There you go.
Sorry, hubs. That's the main reason.
That's too funny. Well, is there anything I didn't ask you about? I like I said, I love this idea because it's just such a cool job to be able to
Yeah.
go and gosh, I have to go research these beaches for
It's been
other
so much
people.
fun. Yeah, I think, like I said, the only other thing that we didn't really touch base on is the boutique that we just started. It's the Jet Setter's Closet.
Okay.
It's just starting to kind of take off. So it's just a bunch of, female travel wear and travel gear and that sort of thing. So that's a lot of fun too. But yeah, I think
I know
that's
what I
it.
was going to ask you earlier is what would you suggest to somebody who's going to plan a vacation? Maybe they've never planned a big vacation to go off to another island or I mean, I
Yeah.
haven't. So what is your suggestions as far as packing and thinking of things that they need to do and be prepared for to go somewhere
Um,
like that?
So For a very first timer, leaving the country is a little intimidating,
Yeah.
because you really have no idea what it is that you're going to come across, what scenarios are going to happen, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I have found, and anytime that because I will have a few people who will come to me and like, hey, I've never been out of the country. What do I do? Where do I start? Blah, blah, blah. My best suggestion is to kind of take crazy scenarios and run them through your head and plan for them.
Okay.
So, for instance, what happens if I miss my connection flight? What am I going to do then? What happens if I make it to the country and I can't get in? What happens if I get to the country and I can't leave? All of
Oh, wow.
those simple, like they seem kind of crazy scenarios, but at the same time, you're mentally preparing yourself. So when you
Yeah.
get there and any of these scenarios do actually happen, you've already got something in place. You already know exactly what you're going to do. And it's not nearly as stressful as what it would be if you like are in the midst of it and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have a connecting flight. What do I do from here? Blah, blah, blah. It's
Yeah.
easier to have a plan ahead of time. So I definitely try to do that. The other thing, if you're connecting through Atlanta, get global entry. I find a lot of people who will have a connection through Atlanta, getting through customs usually takes an hour and a half to 2 hours. So if you don't have that full allotted time to get through customs, you're
Wow.
definitely going to end up missing your connection flight. I can't tell you how many people have done that. And they get so aggravated because they'll stand in the line at the very end and I just go right around them and pull my little passport out, show it to them, and I'm done. So I definitely suggest that even if you're only going for, 1 or 2 trips, just
Right.
because it makes things so much easier and you're
Sure.
definitely not going to end up missing your connection flight. And
Yeah.
so
That are two very helpful tips for people because I
yeah,
wouldn't have thought of either of those things. Like I didn't, I've never traveled overseas, so I wouldn't know any of that. But that's really
yeah.
great. That's great advice.
Yeah.
So
Another thing that I suggest a lot of people doing, depending upon which country you're going to, just registering with the embassy and letting them know that you're going to be in that country. That way, if something were to happen, there's an earthquake or something along those lines,
yeah,
the government knows that you're there and they will make an attempt to get you. Basically, makes it a little bit easier.
I wouldn't have thought of that either. How do people even do that? Is there a place online that you can
Yeah,
just go?
there is a website. I can't remember off the top of my head, but you can do a little quick Google search and
Yeah,
you just register real quick, let them know what your travel dates are and when you're leaving, that sort of thing.
that's very smart.
Yeah.
Such helpful information. I thought we were just going to talk about the beach.
Well, good.
Yes, this is awesome. Well, I'm excited. I've been looking forward to this. I told you to talk to you. I think what you do is very
Yeah,
cool. And I
appreciate that.
hope to continue seeing all your stuff, all your new places you're going to visit and your
Yeah,
pictures. Your
I'm
website's
excited.
beautiful. All the pictures are
Thank you.
gorgeous. So I
Thank you.
love seeing all that.
So thank you so much for having me on here.
Oh,
I
thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it. I think this will air in about a month, but I will send
Okay.
you a link ahead of time and stuff if you want to share it. You're welcome to do that. And
Absolutely.
anyway, I appreciate it
Awesome.
so much.
Cool. We'll talk
Nice
soon.
talking
Have a good
to you.
one.
Okay, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.